bet you weren't expecting to see cats when you clicked on a video about joining the military in 2024. But I do this for a reason. I love these kind of openings, and I'm trying to get more inventive with them. I'd love to. I'd love to hear your comments down below whether or not what kind of animals you like to see. I'd love to do more of these zoo videos because I absolutely love this kind of stuff. But getting into the military thing, we're going to talk today about something a little bit different. I'm kind of shifting gears. I've got some kind of controversial videos coming up. This might be one of those. I'm not sure that it will be, though, because it's really kind of going off of my experience and why I think that joining the military might be the right move for you in 2024. So join me as we sit down and chat about that. All right, so if you're here, I'm going to guess that you're probably either junior or senior in high school, maybe just out of high school. You're debating whether or not to join the military. Maybe you've heard people talk about it. You've had the recruiters coming after you like crazy because they're desperate right now. And you're trying to figure out what you want to do with your life. Or maybe you haven't thought about joining the military and, maybe this is the first time you've seen anything at all about joining the military. And so you wanted to hear something talking about joining the military. This isn't a recruiting video per se. I'm not a recruiter. I'm not even active duty anymore. But I wanted to talk about my experience in the military and what I went through and some of the stuff that some of the reasons why I think it's a good thing overall, even though it's not the right thing for everybody. So I'll start off with October 14th, 2008. I stepped off of a bus in Fort Jackson, South Carolina, and had drill sergeants yelling at me. It was dark outside. We had been traveling all day. We had left the airport at like 8 o'clock that morning. We'd gotten up much earlier than that. And I was scared to death. I didn't know what to expect. I had just joined the United States Army, and I was going into the unknown. Now, for me, I was a father of two. I was 22 years old. I didn't know what to do with my life. I had been wandering basically aimlessly for a few years after high school, and I needed something to get my life back on track. And so I decided the military is probably the right way to do that. Now, for a lot of people, there's a bunch of different reasons people might join. Some people join because they want to do, good for their country or their community. There's people that join for the college benefits. There's people that join, like I did, to find kind of a purpose in my life because I was kind of unsure of what I wanted to do or where I wanted to go. So, starting basic training, it was terrifying. And honestly, the first, we wound up being like 8 weeks, I think it was 9 weeks. We graduated a little bit early because Christmas was coming up. So they kind of cut our basic training a little bit short and got us out early. And even that time, it flew by. Looking back now, I mean, at the time, it was terrifying. At the time, I didn't know what was going on. It felt like just constantly stuff happening, right? And this is going from basically a civilian life of where I didn't really have much going on. I was kind of whatever schedule I felt like doing on a regular basis to this rigid, you have to do this now type of life. And I got out of basic training. I went to Fort Sill, Oklahoma to train. I was in field artillery. I was a 13 Bravo. I would highly recommend going field artillery if you like blowing things up. But so I trained in Fort Sill, Oklahoma. And then wound up stationed in Fort Hood, Texas. And I was told in basic that I would probably be deploying within months of getting to my duty station. It turned out that wasn't entirely true. We wound up deploying in 2011. So I went to Iraq in 2010. I went to Iraq in 2011. And my time overall in the military was good. I'm glad that I did it. I don't want to say, it would be easy to say, I regret this, regret that, because that's the easy thing to do for most people, right? Honestly, I don't have the kind of regrets that you might expect. I wish that I would have been able to be home more often. I had kids. I had a wife. I miss a lot of time with my family. If I had gone right out of high school, if I hadn't been married, if I hadn't had kids, it might have been a different experience for me. But even with all of that, I still think it's the right thing to do. And the reason I think it's the right thing to do is one, because it'll get you on track. You know, there is nothing quite like not only the drill sergeant thing, but like there is something about the military that gives you that structure, the rigidity. Even if you only do it for a few years, you know, I was 3 years on active, 3 years in reserves, and even if you only go for that short a period of time, you get that instilled into you, you know, and you start to, there's a discipline there that is hard to achieve outside of that. I think right now, you know, the military itself in general is going through a hard time with recruiting. Nobody wants to join the Army or the Navy or the Marines or any of that stuff anymore. They're having trouble hitting their recruiting numbers. And I think there's a bunch of different reasons for that. Honestly, I think the biggest reason for it is probably just the past 20 years with all of the wars and everything that have been going on. People are tired of it. You know, it would be easy for me to say that I was tired of it, having gone through it all. To be honest, I think that there is a good thing there. We need a strong military to defend not just the United States, but places around the world. And, you know, my oldest daughter is going to be is planning on joining the Army. She's been going to the recruiting station. She's been going, they've got a thing every week that she goes and all this stuff. And I've been encouraging her. And I thought, you know, I've talked to her about it. We've had these conversations, and I've answered all these questions that she's had. And so I figured, you know, I'll make a video and just talk briefly about it. I didn't want to do anything too long, but I wanted to really kind of talk about it from the standpoint of somebody who's been there and somebody who thinks that it's still a good thing. For instance, I'm using the GI Bill right now, which the GI Bill has recently changed to basically make it an unlimited thing, right? As far as like how long you have to use it, right? Mine runs out in 2027, so I've got to get it used. I had originally thought about using it. I kind of used it a little bit. The GI Bill, for those of you that don't know, is the VA, the Veterans Administration. You use it to pay for college, right? And I didn't know what kind of degree I wanted at the time. If I had it to do over, that is one thing I would change differently. I would have probably tried to get some kind of degree while I was in, if I could find a way to pay for it. You know, if I didn't have a family at the time, if I was a single soldier going in today, you know, and I told my daughter this, you know, spend some of your money, do an online school, get your bachelor's degree while you're active duty. Those online schools are pretty flexible. They give you lots of leeway and that kind of stuff. If you pay for it yourself, when you get out, you now have the GI Bill, and you can use that for a master's degree and potentially more, depending on what you want to go for. College, as much as I hate it, college is one of those things that, like, a lot of places, a lot of companies almost require it now. You're limited if you don't have that education. You're limited if you don't have that experience. And to be honest, the military gives you a lot of experience, a lot of different things that you get to do. You get the GI Bill you can use for college. You can get a good education, even if you only stay in short term. Maybe you stay in, maybe you decide that you love it and you make a career out of it. You can retire after 20 years. You know, not a bad deal. So it's something that I think realistically, and I know it can be scary because especially right now, like there's the possibility of wars out there. There's saber rattling all over the world. The political climate's in upheaval. It's insane. But honestly, that's why it's such an important time right now to get involved. You know, whether in the military or getting involved politically, whatever it happens to be, this is kind of it's a tipping point for what's going to happen in the future. And I'm going to have other videos where I'm going to be talking about the political climate and that kind of stuff, because honestly, I've been thinking more and more about it lately. And it's something that I feel like I need to get out there. I need to talk about because it's a pivotal moment in history right now. And that's been easy to say all throughout history for people to just jump up and say, oh, well, it's a pivotal moment. You know, this is truly a pivotal moment in history. What happens this year between the election, the different countries around the world and what they decide about war and that kind of stuff, it's a pivotal moment. And I'm not going to pretend like, you know, signing up for the military, you're never going to go to war, because there's a possibility you could. But a stronger military, less chance for war. You know, countries don't want to mess with you when they know they're not going to win. And I think we're in a different time than we were 20 years ago. You know, I signed up partially because of 9/11, and I wanted to do something with my life. I wanted to do something and feel like I was doing something bigger than myself, being a part of something bigger than myself. And I'm glad that I did. It taught me a lot. I learned a lot. I had a lot of experiences that I wouldn't have otherwise had. You know, I've set foot in 5 different countries and on 2 different continents. It's places that I wouldn't have gotten to go or see otherwise. And I think that it can be a good thing. It can be something that is really great. And I would highly encourage, you know, if you have questions, hey, ask me questions down in the comments about my military service and things like that. I'd be happy to make another video and talk about this kind of stuff because it's important to me. And I want to kind of shift and start talking more about this kind of stuff because it's what I'm passionate about. And honestly, in 2024, there is no good way to do YouTube and stuff like that anymore. But that's going to be a topic for another video. That's all I really have for this one. I just want to encourage you, if you've been thinking about it, you know, go out and talk to a recruiter. Don't always believe everything recruiters say, because recruiters, their job is to get you to sign, right? Don't buy everything. Read your contract thoroughly. I will say that if you do decide to join, before you sign on the dotted line, read it thoroughly. Make sure you fully understand it. Make sure you're getting what you want. And don't ever let somebody tell you, oh, you can take care of that later. Once it's in your contract, it's in your contract. You know, I kind of got screwed a little bit because they screwed up my contract when I got done with active duty coming into the reserves. And I wound up serving extra time than I was supposed to serve because they messed it up. And they told me at the time, oh, you can fix it when you get to your guard unit. Don't listen to that. Make sure you get it right. But I think it's something that everybody should at least consider. And I think more people should really go out and do, because it really does give you a good leg up in life. It gives you a stepping stone, a way to pay for college. College is super expensive today. A way to pay for that. You know, it's just, yeah, there's risk, but there's risk everywhere in life. You could wind up in a war zone where you get blown up. You could get in a car crash. You know, any number of things could happen in civilian life. You know, the risk isn't really, it's actually less of something happening to you in the military, especially now, because we don't do trench warfare. It's not like it was in World War II, World War I. It's a whole different way of doing things nowadays. And so the chances of you getting killed in combat are a hell of a lot less, even in a wartime, than they are of dying on the streets here. I knew people that died after getting back from deployment, survived deployment only to come back and die in a car crash. You know, so realistically, if you're worried about something happening to you, you're less likely to die serving in the military than you are back here. So it's something to keep in mind. But I want to thank you all for watching. Like I said, comment down below. Let me know if there's any questions you have that I could answer maybe in a follow-up video. I've got a Patreon. I don't know if anybody would be interested in joining that, but I've got a Patreon. You can go join that. Ask me questions directly. Come join the Discord. You can. I'll answer questions in Discord. I don't care. But thank you all for watching. Everybody have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one.